I don't see this particular thing happen very often, where the internet rises up, social media, international fandom rises up and says, that move that was just made in sports is so shocking that I know the executive to be a fool. And then a few months later, the organization, after trading away Luka, says, you're right, that executive is to blame. He needs to be fired. This sports story compares to what in terms of the internet getting to be right and feeling like Greg Cote singing Ethel Merman songs because everybody was right. Oh, yeah, Dallas Mavericks, you didn't actually know what you were doing.
Hello.
Dan, I think Zach Harper said it best. Me and him did live radio on Sirius XM NBA radio yesterday. And he said, the irony is, on January 31st, 2025, if you polled NBA media, NBA personnel, NBA fans, how good of a job has Nico Harrison done as general manager of the Mavericks? Overwhelmingly, people say, this guy's done a great job. He's done a great job. He's really, he drafted Derek Lively.
Great trades in the finals run.
P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford and and the Kyrie Irving trade, which was a little bit risque at the time, but totally paid off.
Not a little bit. That wasn't a little bit risky at the time. That was a home run.
Yeah, yes, a home run in terms of the amount of risk and the payoff. Yeah. It's the awesome thing. And it's this guy's done a great job. And 48 hours later, you're the worst general manager of all time. Dan, I used to do this thing where I explain to people what front office work really is. It's I say, look, anyone could say, yeah, I'll take LeBron. That's easy. It's a no-brainer. Real front office work is all the minutia and the details and finding these weird players and pieces from all over the world. Front office work isn't Duke versus North Carolina. It's Iona versus Marist.
Front office work finding Davion Mitchell.
Right, it's stuff like that, right? That's what I always just say, that's front office work. And now Nico ruined that completely because apparently the no-brainer stuff is pretty important too. It's just ridiculous. Dan, dare I say it, it's on the Mount Rushmore of worst transactions in NBA history.
We can have said that when it happened, correct?
Yes, you're absolutely right. So one of the things that is pretty shocking is sometimes things in hindsight are bad. So I'll give you a great example. The Clippers trading all that stuff for Paul George in order to sign Kawhi Leonard. At the time, we were like, Steve Price, but wow, what a gutsy move. Wow, they've really moved their names into the echelons of championship contention, right? And now we look back oh my God, they're still paying off the picks and the guy that they traded is the MVP and the finals MVP and all that.
I mean, in hindsight right now, essentially the Clippers trading Norman Powell for Bradley Beal and John Collins. Bad move.
Bad move, right?
It's a bad move.
But the reality is Luka Doncic, the moment it happened, then it was so outrageous that people literally were texting and calling Shams saying, yo, you got hacked. Yeah. Think about how outrageous it has to be. For not even people to say, oh, this is NBA Centel. They called the source and told him, yo, there's something wrong with your social media. Someone's having fun with your account. That's how ridiculous it was in the moment. Then I went to All-Star Weekend, and I had presidents of basketball operations and GMs come up to me and say, what are they doing? Not on I can't believe they do. What are they doing? But serious curiosity. No, tell me, because as a front office person, your usual inclination is if something happened that is unexplainable on the surface, that means there's something happening behind closed doors that nobody knows about. And so clearly there must be something more to the story. 9 months later, Dan, we realized there was nothing more to the story. Yep. He just thought that was a good deal.
Yep.
But that's not new, Amin. The thing that I'm sort of blown back by on the mushroom cloud of this is it happens, it's seismic. We all back away from it dumbfounded. Everyone has the same opinion. There are no dissenters on a sports opinion. This is something you do not do. And then 8 months later, they're like, yeah, something happened in the last 8 months that makes this fireable, even though that wasn't fireable while we were all calling it fireable. Things like this don't happen, I mean,
people aren't ever this unpopular. They put emergency stairs next to his seat so he could get out of there quicker. When they travel on the road, people are drowning the lower bowl out with Fire Nico.
Their own fans hate their team now.
They're struggling. He is so unpopular, you almost have to.
One of the things that I think has to be marveled at here is how badly ownership miscalculated the importance of the emotional relationship that a region has with this player, so that the betrayal is so seismic that you're firing somebody 8 months late for what they did 8 months ago because you underestimated what the reaction would be.
So, Dan, I've talked about this also, like the idea of crater transactions. And what I mean by that is it is so deeply hurtful to the fan base that it never comes back. A great example of this is Dominique Wilkins. In 1994, the Hawks had the #1 record in the Eastern Conference. They're a couple of games back for the best record in the league. And they traded Dominique Wilkins
for Danny Manning.
Who was going to be a free agent at the end of the year, ends up leaving at the end of the year. Spoiler alert, right? So,
by the way, the Heat almost traded Glenn Rice before that for Danny Manning.
Yeah,
hot tip.
Danny Manning was the guy. But so Dan,
useless information.
I know.
Not to me. I love Glenn
I remember
Rice.
You were on that beat in the Herald.
Not to me.
Dominique Wilkins, homegrown, went to UGA. Like, Atlanta loved him, and Atlanta loved Hawks basketball, right? And Dominique Wilkins was this guy, and he went up against Bird toe-to-toe in a Game 7 and had the incredible scoring back. And then he had the dunk contest battles with Michael Jordan and held his own and beat him and all that stuff. So Dominique was like Atlanta's identity. And then they traded him.
Across sports and generations,
Yes.
right? Like maybe the most famous athlete in Atlanta not named Hank Aaron.
No,
like,
Deion Sanders. Like, there's a lot of names. But
Dominique was first.
At that moment in time, Dominique was everything, right? You know, Hank Aaron, obviously, for, societal, cultural reasons, but, like, Dominique was like, yeah, because he's ours. They traded him, and the team was still good. Like, it's not like they fell off a cliff, but the fan base resented it, and to this day, they have problems with attendance because that was a crater-inducing transaction. They killed NBA basketball in that city for 3 decades because they made a deal that did not take into account what these people are.
You could argue the Marlins have had several crater transactions, but the one that did me in was the one with the Blue Jays, and then they won that trade, but it didn't even matter. And the Deshaun Watson thing totally cratered my fandom.
Right, but it didn't crater.
Well, it cratered the team. And the
Like-
NFL's a different animal.
Like, I'm talking about a transaction that is so outrageous. You have fans leaving in droves, like, and never coming back. It's 2025. He got traded in 1994. They still haven't come back. Not to the levels it was at the Omni, right? Another example, this a little different. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I think George Shinn was the owner of the Hornets, and he was just an awful person. And the fans in Charlotte, which, Dan, you remember this, Charlotte used to be a model NBA market. Look at how fervent these people are.
Those games were so
They
fun.
love
The
NBA
Hive.
basketball. The Hive, sitting on the top of that hill, right, with the parking lot. I went to the last game, went out there, 20,000 people in that parking lot. Went inside, maybe 5,000 people. They hated what they had done to the Hornets, and this man in particular. He moves the Hornets to New Orleans. They bring the team back as the Bobcats. Bobcats change their name to the Hornets. Guess what? It still has never come back. They've never gotten to the levels that they had back in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Is that what's going to happen to the Mavericks?
Given that they fired him this quickly, I'm wondering if they got out in time. But if this thing had continued, if you let this guy continue to do these things, who knows? Maybe it would have been created because, remember, new ownership group, no one's fond of them. They're not locals. No one feels an affinity to them. And then this guy comes in, and he does, like I said, a Mount Rushmore worst deal of all time. Dan, if I give you 2 other transactions, you tell me what's worse than this one, right? So we got Luka for Anthony Davis in the first-round pick. You have James Worthy, or the number 1 overall pick, basically, that became James Worthy, for Don Ford and a first-round pick. Or you have Joe Barry Carroll for Robert Parrish and a first-round pick that was Kevin McHale. What's the worst trade of all time? I need a 4th. I'm still looking for a 4th.
Miguel Cabrera trade.
The part about this that is truly really something that is stupefying to me as somebody who's watched sports all his life is to have an ownership so disconnected from whatever the emotion of sports is their business. It's the emotion business. So that of all of the people that you mentioned there, the one with the greatest promise that gives you, wait a minute, for 10 years we get to have a guy. We get to have a guy who might be an all-timer. We get to watch him grow up. This is the beginning of our relationship with him. We are going to only grow this over 10 years because when he hurts, we will hurt with him. And if he finally wins, he's ours. We saw it from the beginning. This is the best of the players you're talking about. Like, this kind of trade is the modern day. It's the modern day trading of Babe Ruth that haunted you talk about crater trades that haunted the Red Sox for 100 years.
How is it good business to literally do something that your entire customer base is going to hate?
So here's the thing. Luka came into a situation where this franchise had grown to love Dirk Nowitzki. 8 billion years playing for the same team. They saw him when he was a skinny teenager and then the champion and everything in between. And they had the really rare thing that doesn't always happen in sports where the passing of the torch, there is no dead period in between. Oh, what are we going to do? Larry Bird retired. Oh, like, oh, finally, here comes Paul Pierce 10 years later. No. It was real time. We're teammates. My name's Dirk Nowitzki. His name is Luka. Boom. Luka loved Dallas. He embraced Dallas, right? If there was any sort of rumbling that I'm like, this guy's looking somewhere else, he's not happy, I think it might have been different. But the fact that he was so ingrained there, that's the shocking thing for this fan base that had gotten used to, hey, our stars don't leave. So I think those are the things. But Dan, in order to move this story forward, because I know everyone has pretty much said all these things, I like to quote something from the Substack of a guy I worked with in Phoenix. His name is Jeremiah Engelman.
What do you say?
He used to work for the Mavericks. He said, the day after the Mavericks lost their final game to Golden State in the 2022 Conference Finals, I met with Nico to formally quit my position and to have an exit interview. There, I warned Nico about some of the developments I had witnessed during his first year in office. In particular, that he did not have a good grasp of who he should trust and who among those under him were simply kissing ass. Nico had drowned out many of the voices who could provide perspective, including those of the department where I was an analyst. Instead of being willing to hear critical input, Nico had empowered people who had little basketball knowledge, and those tend to be people, such as attorneys, who had worked their way up this ladder thanks to Nico himself. These people stroked Nico's ego at every turn. So he surrounded himself with yes men. So you say, how could they, what bad business sense? If everyone around you said, yeah, good idea, boss, and you literally worked to shield all the people who say opposing opinions, then all you're going to hear is like, yeah, this is a great idea. Yeah, he is fat and out of shape. Yeah, no, we should be. Defense does win championships. And all those ridiculous reasonings to do that deal.
It's cutting a little close to the bone.
And so this was in 2022, you just said that?
Yeah, well, Jeremiah wrote that today or yesterday. But, yes, he left in 2022.
I mean, like, Cuban hired him, and Cuban was still the owner of the team and super involved for several years, when Nico Harrison is running the team that year, like, it just slips under the cracks?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, he's talking about a point in time at the beginning of this, right? And so Mark Cuban's probably saying, oh, he's good, he's got a great relationship with people, et cetera, et cetera. He's not coming to Mark with, let's trade Luka in 2022.
I'm trying to think of most unpopular executives ever. I'm trying
Jerry
to
Krause.
think of, Jerry Krause.
The executive who traded Gretzky in Edmonton.
Jerry Krause, yeah, that's a good one.
That one
hold
took
on.
years for them to climb back out of.
What's his
cratering
name?
Transactions.
I forget his name.
There you go. And then he ain't on the list then.
Can't win this game.
Yeah.
We gotta know your name.
Don't do the name 3 songs. It was a good point.